The grandfather clock in my living room strikes 3 in the afternoon.
I've been sitting in this armchair for the past hour, watching dust particles dance in the sunlight streaming through the window.
Tuesday, or is it Wednesday? It doesn't matter anymore. Every day looks the same now. I have nowhere to be. No one was waiting for me. No meetings, no deadlines, no obligations. So ever since retirement, I've had plenty of time, but it's also when my own clock started counting down. And that terrifies me, an 85-year-old man. 40 years ago, when I was a young man named William Carter, buried under quarterly reports at the accounting firm, I used to dream about this. I'd sit in bumper-to-bumper traffic on the 405 freeway, watching the sun set over Los Angeles, thinking, one day, I'll have time. Time to read those novels stacked on my nightstand. Time to learn guitar. Time to just breathe. But now that I have time endless, stretching forward, nothing but time, I've realized something I never understood back then. Having time and using time are two completely different things. I remember my last day at Morrison & Associates like it was yesterday, though it's actually been 25 years. The 15th of December 2000. My colleagues threw me a retirement party in the conference room, sheet cake from Ralph's, a gold watch, speeches about my dedication and invaluable contributions. Everyone said I deserved this rest, that I should enjoy my golden years. I believed them. The first month was glorious. I slept until 8, sometimes 9. I read the newspaper cover to cover every morning, something I hadn't done in decades. I watched those old westerns I loved on TCM. Mary Louise and I went to early bird dinners at Denny's, came home before dark, then watched Wheel of Fortune together. I felt like I'd been released from prison, but Mary Louise passed away 3 years later. Stroke. Quick and clean, the doctor said, as if that made it any better. And suddenly, all that time I'd been enjoying started to feel different. The house became too quiet. The days too long. The clock too loud. My daughter Sarah calls every Sunday from Portland. Hi, Dad. How are you doing? The same question every week. I give her the same answer. Fine, sweetheart. Everything's fine. She has her own life. 2 teenagers, a high-pressure job as a nurse practitioner, a husband who travels frequently for work. She doesn't need to worry about her old man counting cracks in the ceiling. My son David lives in Boston. Calls maybe once a month. He's busy building his career in biotech, something I don't really understand, but pretend to when he talks about it. The last time he visited was Christmas? Or was that 2 Christmases ago? Time blurs now. Not because my memory is failing, the doctor says I'm still sharp, but because there's nothing to mark the days anymore. No milestones, no events. Just Tuesday bleeding into Wednesday, then into Thursday. Last week, I drove to the park where I used to take Sarah and David when they were little. The old playground is gone, replaced by some modern structure that looks like a spaceship. I sat on a bench, not even the same benches, and watched young parents push their toddlers on swings. One father looked very stressed, constantly checking his watch, phone pressed to his ear, taking a work call while his daughter screamed, "Higher, Daddy, higher." He barely looked at her. I wanted to walk over, shake him and say, "Look at her, really look at her. This moment right now, you'll never get it back." But I didn't. Because who wants life advice from some old man sitting on a park bench? I sat there for 2 hours. Nobody noticed me. That's how it is now when you're elderly in America. You become invisible. Just background scenery. People's eyes slide right past you. When I finally drove home, I passed my old office building, Morrison & Associates. The sign is different now. Some tech company bought the building. I wondered if anyone there knew that Robert Mitchell used to sit in the corner office on the third floor, that I'd spent 37 years of my life in that building. Probably not. I left 25 years ago. In business, that's ancient history. I am ancient history. Here's what nobody tells you about retirement, about having all the time in the world. It forces you to confront a truth you've been running from your entire life. The clock is counting down. I first felt it on my 83rd birthday. Sarah drove down with the kids. Well, they're not kids anymore. Emma's 19. Marcus is 17. They sang happy birthday. I blew out candles on a store-bought cake. We took photos on Sarah's phone. As I watched them pack up to leave, Emma hugged me and said, "See you next year, Grandpa." And I thought, will you? Not in a morbid way, just statistical reality. I'm 85 years old. The actuarial tables aren't in my favor. Every birthday now feels like it could be the last one. Every Thanksgiving could be my final turkey. Every Christmas will I see another one. From then on, I started counting things differently. Not how many years do I have left, but how many more springs. Maybe 5, 10 if I'm lucky. I've lived through 85 springs, but they used to stretch on forever. Now I can almost count them on 2 hands. How many more Christmases? How many more phone calls with Sarah? How many more mornings watching the sunrise? When you're young, time is infinite. Even when you're busy, even when you're overwhelmed, there's always later. Later, I'll take that trip. Later, I'll learn piano. Later, I'll tell my wife I love her. But at 85, later is a luxury I can no longer afford. I attended 3 funerals last year. Bill Patterson, we worked together for 20 years. Pancreatic cancer. Fast and brutal. Helen Rodriguez from church. Slipped in her bathroom. Broke her hip, never recovered. And Tom Brennan, my best friend since college. Heart attack while mowing his lawn on a Saturday morning. At Tom's funeral, his son stood up and said, "My dad always wanted to take us to the Grand Canyon. He talked about it for years. But there was always a reason: work, money. The timing wasn't right." He died with a travel brochure still on his desk. I thought about my own list. Scotland. Never went. Guitar lessons. Never started. Those novels on my nightstand. Still unread. Covered in dust. Now I have all the time in the world. But my knees ache when I climb stairs. My hands shake when I try to write. I get winded just walking to the mailbox. That trip to Scotland? The dream I nurtured for 40 years? My doctor says long flights are too risky at my age, blood clots, you know. So I have time, but I can't use it the way I imagined. The cruelest irony of aging: when you finally have time, you no longer have capability. And when you had capability, you didn't have time. But here's what I've learned, what 85 years of life have taught me. Time isn't measured in hours. It's measured in moments. Last month, my great-granddaughter Lily, Emma's baby, visited for the first time. 4 months old, tiny fists, curious eyes. Sarah placed her in my arms, and this little girl looked at me with such wonder, as if I were the most fascinating thing in the world. We sat together for about 20 minutes. She gripped my finger with her whole hand, made little cooing sounds, then fell asleep on my chest. 20 minutes, but worth more than all those years I spent behind a desk, chasing promotions I don't even remember now. I started writing letters, real letters with pen and paper, to Sarah, telling her things I never said, how proud I am of her, how she saved me when Mary Louise died, how her strength reminds me of her mother. To David, apologizing for the times I chose work over his soccer games, for not being there enough. To Emma and Marcus, telling them about their grandmother, about where this family comes from. I don't know if they'll read those letters while I'm alive or later. Doesn't matter. What matters is that I said it. Last week, I called my brother. We hadn't spoken in 8 years because of some stupid argument about Dad's estate. I can't even remember what we fought about. I picked up the phone, dialed, and said, "Jack, I'm sorry, life's too short." He cried. I cried too. We talked for 2 hours. 8 years wasted over something neither of us can remember. How many people go to their graves with regrets like that? I've stopped saving things for later. That bottle of wine Mary Louise and I were keeping for a special occasion, I opened it last Tuesday. No special occasion, just because I wanted to remember its taste from when we bought it 30 years ago. The good china for guests only? Now I eat off it every meal. Why not? Who am I saving it for? I'm reading those novels. Playing guitar badly, but I'm playing. I make lasagna using Mary Louise's recipe, even though I'm the only one eating it. That's okay. She'd want me to keep those traditions alive. I'm not running from the truth anymore. The clock is counting down. Maybe I have 5 years, maybe 5 months. Only God knows. But here's what 85 taught me that 45 could never understand. It's not about having time. It's about using the time you have. The grandfather clock strikes 4. I've been sitting here for 2 hours now. But you know what? I don't feel empty anymore. Tomorrow, I'm driving to the cemetery to visit Mary Louise. I'll bring those daisies she loved. I'll sit there and tell her about Lily, about the letters I'm writing, about how I finally mastered her lasagna recipe. Friday, I'm volunteering at the library, teaching seniors how to use computers. Turns out all those decades at the accounting firm gave me skills that other people need. And next week, Sarah's bringing Lily down. We're going to take 4-generation photos. I might not be here to watch Lily grow up, but she'll have these pictures. She'll know that her great-grandfather held her, loved her, welcomed her into this family. The clock is counting down for all of us, not just the elderly. The difference is, at 85, I can't pretend otherwise anymore. I don't have the luxury of later. But perhaps that's the gift. When you know time is limited, you stop wasting it. You stop saving the good china for special occasions because you realize every ordinary day is a special occasion. You stop putting off phone calls, apologies, expressions of love because you might not get another chance. I have all the time in the world right now. And simultaneously, I have almost no time left. Both are true. But finally, I understand which truth matters more. The clock strikes again. Time to stop sitting. Time to start living whatever living looks like at 85.
Because the clock is always counting down for all of us. The only question is, what will you do with the time you have left?